I just want to give a quick warning before this video begins. Due to the footage being sped up super fast, there are moments where I leave the drawing program to look at references on Google, and as a result it looks like it's flashing lights really fast. Maybe just listening to this as audio format might be good for you. I just wanted to say that in case. So please just be careful if you have anything like that to lower the brightness or what have you. Thank you, and now you can enjoy the video. We're just gonna jump right in. I decided to design all of Team RWBY starting with Ruby Rose. I actually did a recording before that I was gonna do a video where there was all 4 of them and all in one video, and it just made it so I had to play Ruby's footage too fast. So Ruby's drawing took about 10 hours or so, maybe a little less than 10 hours, but 10 hours, and so her footage is very long. In order to speed it up fast enough, it would have had to be 25 times the original speed in order to fit in a video with the others. So I ultimately decided to split it up into 4 parts, and this way we can have basically a full-length video that is just me drawing Ruby. Yeah, I can't really help the fact that I'm particularly meticulous, and so it did take a long time to draw her. I don't want to pressure myself too much to draw faster though, so I kind of think this is just the way things are going to be. Maybe next time I'll try to get Crescent Rose out of the way first, maybe something like that. But for Ruby today, I wanted to make a design where she is a lot more streamlined. I wanted to basically just throw out the entire concept of the dress, because I feel like I watched Twins Inc.'s video on redesigning Team RWBY. It's about an hour long, maybe 2 hours-ish long, and she got a bunch of her Twitter followers to redesign Team RWBY, and they would just discuss outfits. It wasn't really a competition, it was just, hey, I want to see everybody try to redesign Team RWBY. I saw in that video that everybody would give Ruby a dress, and I totally understand why. Like, it's very understandable to want to give her a dress. But I just personally felt like, I mean, how many dress designs can we design for Ruby? Like, it seems like how many theoretical dresses are out there that can suit Ruby, you know what I mean? Like, eventually I feel like we need to change the silhouette, we need to change something drastically so that we can actually make her feel unique. So I decided to go with pants, and I've decided at this point that they're leggings, they're not just pants, and I personally really like it. I feel like she's the speedster character, so she should be able to, I don't like the idea of a speedster character having something in their way, something that would, like a dress, all the ruffles are there. I know in reality dresses really don't get in your way that much, but it feels heavy. It's shape-wise very chunky. So I really like the idea of just slender legs. And you know what's interesting is I actually put pretty much all of Team RWBY in slender pants, but you'll see. Maybe with the exception of Weiss, which I think is a bit silly. It's like both in media and in real life, I just really like high-rise pants. I think it simplifies the waist. I think it looks really elegant. I put Ruby in these slick pants instead of a dress. But here's my thought. You don't need to remove the dress concept entirely, you know what I mean? Just because she's wearing pants in this volume, which I would imagine being around volume 4, doesn't mean she can't ever wear a dress again. It's just like this volume she wanted to wear pants, and that's okay. Like, it doesn't denote like maturity to wear a dress or not, you know? Actually, I think it would be really sick to give an older Ruby like a slender dress. That would be so elegant. You know what? I have thought about doing an all grown up video where all of the RWBY team members are aged up, and I would give them they would all be very attractive. And I would give them all brand new outfits. Maybe I would change their weapons a little bit. Oh my gosh, that's such a good idea, honestly. But that's going to be in the future, though, because I'm going to take a break from RWBY. This really took a lot out of me. I want to get into Pokemon design, and I also want to talk about character design. Specifically, I would like to make a weapon design video eventually, and soonish, because I feel like a weapon design is something that people have been asking for but can't seem to get their hands on, and it's like nobody knows how to design weapons. I wouldn't say I'm an expert either. Like, I haven't designed a whole lot of weapons in my life, but I wouldn't mind like putting my thoughts out there. I think I have a pretty good understanding of character design and therefore weapon design. I feel like they're very related, and I think people may approach it in a very stagnant way, and it's like, you know, if you approach a character design and a weapon design the same way, that might clear up a lot of the confusion as to how to design a weapon, but that will have to be in a future video because it's kind of not super relevant to what I'm talking about here. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I want to do Pokemon, and I want to do just general talking about like tips, and I do want my channel to be somewhat educational, you know. I want people to learn something from my channel instead of just seeing my footage and my drawings, which there's nothing wrong with that. Just I like to help people, so if you want help, I can give you the help. I also want to continue talking about RWBY's design here. I want to give a tip to artists out there that it is wise to put in a lot of time in the shoes. I feel like a lot of people just kind of rush shoes, and they don't really like putting in a lot of work into them, and I totally understand, because shoes are my probably least favorite thing to design, but in the end it does look like it really puts your design together and it brings the whole room together, and when you do put time into it, people notice, and it looks good. For this drawing, I think I literally just looked up a pair of shoes on Pinterest, and I'm really glad I did, because I feel like they add a lot of shape, and like you look at the shoe and you be like, oh wow, there's like a whole bunch of details going on here. They're not forgotten. They're bright red when the coloring comes in, and it's like, because she's wearing so much black on her legs, I felt like it's okay to put her in shoes that are bright red this time, because there's not much red on her lower legs, so it's like a pop of color, and also during a fight scene you'll be able to see her feet pretty well. So I'm really happy with how the shoes turned out in this piece. I love the belt around them and the lace combo. I think it looks really good. So another thing I wanted to talk about, and we're not really looking at it right now, but that's okay, is RWBY's top here. So I've done something that I actually don't think I've seen other people do before, which is why I chose this outfit, is because I haven't seen anybody do this. I made the cape like extend to her like belly button essentially, and now her cape is like part of her outfit, you know what I mean? It covers her chest, and I did this because I wanted to bring some of that red onto her actual clothes. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, in a fight scene it'll get confusing, but I've added lines throughout her top here that kind of point you in the direction of her face and limbs, so that you don't get super confused during a fight scene. I really do consider these things. So on her torso, you see there's two cross shapes cut out of the shirt there, and those would help direct you as to where the torso is, and it's also a reference to Crow. But those kind of cross-like cuts in the fabric would also exist on her sleeves. So it's really unfortunate in this RWBY drawing that you can't see it, but on her sleeves you would see a line of black, maybe lace. Maybe I can do a quick illustration to tell you what I mean, and that would help you direct your eyes to her hands and arms in combat, so you can see what they're doing. So I know it's a lot of red probably on her outfit, but there are lines to distinguish where her torso and arms are at all times, so it's okay that she's wearing a lot of red on her top. And beneath her top is a turtleneck, which also you can't see the turtleneck aspect, which kind of makes me sad in this drawing. You know, I did technically pick the worst pose for showing off like what her clothes are doing, but in this pose I wanted to show that one side of her leggings has roses on them, so that's why that foot, the right side of her foot, is extended, because that's where the rose pattern is. So, and it's not present on the other side of the legging, so it's just like on one side, which I thought was really elegant and sleek. And she has this burgundy, deep burgundy top, turtleneck underneath her top there, so you can see where her torso is. I actually don't know what I was gonna say there, but that's okay. Yeah, and then on top of that I gave her black gloves with the inside of the glove is red, and you'll see that eventually too. So yeah, I do have about 20 minutes here, maybe more than 20 minutes, maybe close to half an hour of just talking, so I hope that's alright. If I sped it up even more, I feel like you're losing information. I feel like it's really choppy, so I hope it's alright that we're hanging out here and we're just talking. You know, the cape really gave me a lot of trouble in this redesign. I initially wanted it to be bursting into petals, but considering how long Crescent Rose was going to take, I knew at this point that Crescent Rose would take a while to color, and I knew that I was spending a lot of time on Ruby's just design anyway. I didn't want the cape to be overly complicated, and especially if it were bursting into petals somewhat, it would take a long time because I would have to render and shade and color each and every petal, and then the rips in the fabric. And I gotta say, I really hate doing rips in fabric. That's probably like one of my least favorite things to draw. So I decided to just not have her cape bursting into petals, which is a little sad. Maybe in the future, if I have time, maybe I'll tweak it. I have no idea. But yeah, another thing is, you know, you may have thought to yourself like, oh, I actually kind of like the shape that I originally had. I didn't like it because it kind of looked like she had way too much cape. Like, Ruby's cape is really not that big, especially in the newer volumes. They've decreased how big her cape is because it is probably a lot to animate. So I like to keep her cape pretty consistently squarish, so that it's like, oh, that's where it ends, and it's not like a superhero's cape that seems to go on forever. It's like it's close to a superhero cape, but it's not really. Yeah, so I wanted it to just look more like a cape that would be size appropriate for Ruby, because I don't believe she's a very tall person. Yeah, so that's a cape. We're starting on Crescent Rose here, so I did have a reference with me. It's so complicated. I thought to myself, why didn't I just trace it? But during the drawing of it, I was just like, you know what, I've already started it by just referencing it, so it is side by side, but I don't fully trace it. It's like I reference it while it's beside me, you know? But in the future, I might just trace it, because, I mean, I think that's okay, right? I'm already drawing fan art. It's not like this is original character or anything, and I'm taking it. It's like her weapon. But anyway, whatever. That doesn't matter. Yeah, so yes, I'll talk about Crescent Rose. I actually really love Crescent Rose. I consider him his own character at this point. I am a bit sad in the show. His presence is not nearly the same as it was in earlier volumes. He is twirled around a little bit like a toy. His heaviness is not emphasized. His impact isn't emphasized. He's not used really to push Ruby around. Although I will say, you know what, I won't be super negative. In the Volume 9 final fight, though, that was sublime. That was how Crescent Rose is supposed to be used. And I understand that it's tough to animate. It would be fine if it were tough to animate if they treated their animators with an ounce of respect, but that's another subject for another day. Yeah, so that was cool. It was cool to see that Ruby Rose got to use Crescent Rose really, really effectively in Volume 9. Because I think it's a beautiful weapon design. I would even go so far to say that he's handsome. And I know that's a little ridiculous because it's like, oh, I have a crush on Crescent Rose. But I just feel like he's such an excellent weapon design. And I mean, wow, what what a hot take, you know. You like Crescent Rose, but he is great, so I really do try to get his details right every time I draw him. But definitely in the future, I think I'll trace a little bit. I like adding my own little flair to him, but he's definitely time consuming, so in the future I might just trace it, but that's alright. I think it's okay, personally. Yeah, so I love Crescent Rose, and so I made sure, oh, I'm repeating myself, I'm terribly sorry. Yeah, I will say I do enjoy I'm gonna call it a hilt, but I'm not sure if that's the correct term. The part where Ruby would hold Crescent Rose, the not sharp part. I do love the shape that it provides. It has the body of a sniper on it because, you know, as we all know, it's part scythe, part sniper, and which is such a cool combination. Like, I can't stress how cool of a combination that is. But I really, it actually just hit me there how I actually adore both snipers and scythes a lot. So to combine the two is like, oh my god. Yeah. Wow, you know what? I'm surprised how quickly I got her hand there. Like, that's not a super easy pose to draw, her holding Crescent Rose in, so I'm really glad that that worked out. Here you can see the outline of how one side will be black and one side will be red for the gloves. I'm happy with that. I did kind of fudge the hood. I was like, oh yeah, she's supposed to have a hood. I almost forgot her hood. But, yeah. Oh, and I will say, I was originally going to give her long hair, and I really did like it, but she wasn't reading as Ruby. She actually looked really, really beautiful with long hair, and I'm a little sad that I had to change it eventually. But she just wasn't really reading as Ruby to me, so I was like, well, she has to be identifiably Ruby. If I put her in the thumbnail, she can't look like somebody else, so yeah. Here I used a real rose reference so that I would get these right, because originally I was going to draw my little blobs, but it just wasn't cutting it, so I did a very realistic rose for the leggings there. Also, the chain, I was shocked at how well it turned out. Like, I actually usually hate doing chains, but I think I have forgiven chains a little bit. I don't hate doing chains anymore. They can actually be really beautiful, so I am willing to put in the time now to make chains look like actual chains and not little noodles like ramen noodles hanging out on the sides there. So yeah, and a little cross. It's a little edgy. I like how edgy. I like how Ruby is slightly goth, but she's not like full-blown like wearing the dark makeup kind of goth. She's like a light goth. And the fact that she has goth elements and her personality is that she's like the cheery, optimistic one is super unique. And I mean, I don't think she's lost that concept entirely, although the goth element is seeming to go away. I'm thinking currently of her volume 7 to 9 look, and I don't really get goth from it. I get more like adventurer, and there's nothing wrong with that. And here I'm drawing Ruby's hair. I really wanted to draw it more accurately, and I also wanted to draw, like, get it down really well so that you can see the individual locks of her hair and not just a blob on her head, because in the past I haven't liked how I render her hair, so I wanted it to be actually like more effort than usual into the hair, so I spent a good amount of time on the hair. And I gotta say, I really like Ruby's Volume 1 hairstyle a lot more than I thought I did, because she got the windswept look in Volume 7 to 9. She got a new haircut, and I do like it, but I didn't realize how much I actually still like the original, so that's nice. By the way, I will mention that her facial expression will change. I'll change it in the end because she looks so serious, and you don't know what they look like yet, but Yang and Blake and Weiss all have pretty calm, happy expressions, so it didn't make sense for the Ruby to be the only one that's so serious when she's the silly one, you know. Well, I wouldn't say she's silly, but you know what, actually yes, she is a little silly. I might be drinking water occasionally here because I am talking straight for half an hour, so I'm just gonna drink your water, everybody. I have with me this like Sailor Moon water bottle, and that I got for my birthday, but the Sailor Scouts have been rubbed off at this point. It really sucks because I love Sailor Moon, and they were very cute. They were so cute, but whatever. We'll get back to the drawing. I like the concept of the thin line work on the inside and the thicker line work on the outside. I think it's very visually appealing to have a variety of line qualities. Another thing I'll say is that for line quality, I would encourage long confident strikes, which I know every artist recommends. That's how we get these like slick lines here. So we're gonna start talking about the coloring process because that's starting up. I'm outlining inlining everything with a flat base of color. Obviously Crescent Rose isn't purple. What I'm gonna do is, and I think if you are an experienced artist, you already know this process. I don't know if you do it quite this way, but I'll make a layer of something that I want to be all on one layer. So Ruby's gonna be this magenta, her hair is going to be a red, her scythe is gonna be purple, and her cape in the back there is gonna be blue. And what I do is, when I'm all done doing my base colors, which by the way, this process only takes like 15 minutes or so, even on a complicated drawing like this, so in my opinion, it's extremely worth it to spend the 15 minutes or so and completely inline your entire piece. Because once they're all got their base colors figured out, what I'll do is I don't know what it's called on other programs. I just know that it's called a quick clipping group on my free creator program that I use. You just hear my voice, it's starting to stress out. 1 second here. Yeah, so I quick clipping group, so that way, after you quick clipping group it, it doesn't let any of the colors, especially if you hit the alpha button on the right there, it doesn't allow any of the colors to overlap. So if you strategize that concept and like layer it appropriately, nothing will overlap with things that you don't want it to, which I gotta say, as an artist, it's so satisfying. And also, once you've lined everything, you can shade and add new colors whenever you want to without those colors actually being outside of the character. It remains inside of the line of the character because I put down all those base colors. And there you can see the burgundy top underneath. I think it's really nice. Because it's like, what's wrong with just using a darker shade of red to help break up Ruby a little bit more, you know? Why does it always got to be either black or neon red? You know, like it should be able, and I think it looks really nice. And she really reads as the right character. Yeah, so you can see more of my color palette choices here. I was alluding to them earlier, but now you can actually see them. I hope you like them. I do tweak the hair eventually, and all I really do is add some orange highlights so that her hair kind of separates from her cape there much better. Yeah, and she has little crosses holding the cape down, but it's all one piece. Like this red shirt she's got and the cape there, it's all one piece. But when she turns into petals, just the cape part becomes petals, and she maintains the sleeves and the top there. I think that's how that would work. You can leave a comment on how you think this would work in her petal burst form if you would really like to. Yeah, and I'm coloring Crescent Rose. I am really proud with how Crescent Rose turned out in this piece. I wasn't really gonna let him be understated in this piece. And in terms of the pose, like, I did choose it to show off her one side has roses on it. And also because I wanted to do this because it kind of looks like she is either about to enter or about to is exiting from a petal burst attack. So I thought that would be really cool. That's why I was originally going to make the cape this a petal bursting motion, but again, for time's sake, I did disregard that decision. But I think it's okay. She's about to turn into petals, and so she's holding Crescent Rose, maybe to do like an up strike, and I think it's very cool. I don't do a lot of dynamic poses in my traditional art, like when I just draw my sketchbook. I really love digital art. Like, I can really experiment a lot more because I don't have the limitations of the size of the paper. Yeah, so really wanted to get that. I like that little compass shape on crescent rows for the cartridge reload. I think it looks nice. Yeah, and I think I got it pretty dang accurate, if I do say so myself. So, you know, references are fine. I think some people demonize using references. I think it's fine to use a reference, especially for a pre-existing character. Like, this isn't a fan character. Yeah, and I put silver in the shoes. I am very happy with how the shoes came out. I think they're super cute. Yeah, so, and I will say, I adore this color palette of the red and black with nothing else. Yeah, that was my goal for this design. I wanted to keep her in nothing but red and black. I feel like people add white, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, if you want to add white to her palette, I totally understand. But I feel like for this drawing in particular, I wanted to keep her in her volume 1 colors. Keep her in that slick black and red color palette. Yeah, so I'm just doing the shading. I absolutely love doing shading. I'll add pops of orange into Ruby's shading, particularly on her cape and her top there. It is a way better shading choice than just using light red, or white, because that actually desaturates your piece. So I would recommend shading with, if you're going to use highlights, sorry, I keep saying shading, but I mean highlights. If you highlight with a color above, like say you're shading and highlighting, your color is green, highlights would be yellow. You know what I mean? Because it's far more appealing than just highlighting with white or shading with black. That's what I would recommend. Never use black or white for shading or highlights unless it's something like Paperman, you know, where stylistically the point is that it's all black and white. You know what I mean? So here I'm doing her hair, and I really do adore how her hair turned out. I made sure to make the little lines that I do a lot more finer than I ever have, and I am definitely doing this in the future. I think it actually kind of looks like a technique that somebody would use to make real hair. And I made her highlights in her hair like a light pink, and I think it really pops. I really do like how her hair turned out in this piece. But I think we're swiftly heading to the end of our piece here, so let's just let it play out. So here we have our final product. I did tweak Ruby's face, and I gave her a smile. I just felt like she was looking a little too stern, and she isn't supposed to be the most serious character, so yeah, I gave her a smile, and I added some orange to her hair so that it pops out of her cape. I also added some orange to Crescent Rose himself so that he would pop from Ruby, because it felt like he was blending into Ruby's cape a little too much. I also added some shading and texture to Ruby's burgundy shirt underneath, so now it's more close to black with that velvet kind of shine. Yeah, so I really hope you liked this video. I hope you liked this design for Ruby, and feel free to comment below any critiques, any ideas for future videos that you would like to see. And if you would like to see more content, hit that subscribe button and push that like button, all the doodads. And I'd be happy to make more content for you. Thank you so much for watching my second video. I hope you have a fantastic night.